Oftentimes when we talk about complex numbers, we have to talk about complex conjugates. Now, for any complex number, you're going to have a real part and an imaginary part. And these are just numbers. The real part is by itself on the left side, and the imaginary part is always connected to the I by multiplication. So you can see in this slide that I have the real part written in red, and I have the imaginary part written in blue. Now for complex conjugates, for any complex number, you can take its complex conjugate. All you have to do is switch the plus or minus sign on the imaginary part. Just switch the plus or minus sign on the imaginary part. So let's take a look at a quick example. I want to find the complex conjugate of 4 plus 3i. So how can I do this? Well, I know that the real part is 4, and I know that the imaginary part is 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the sign on the imaginary part. Now for a complex conjugate, I always write the z, but I put a bar over it. This is the symbol for complex conjugate of z. So at this point, I'm going to leave the real part the way it is. I always leave the real part the way it is. And I'm going to switch the sign on the imaginary part. So instead of being a positive 3 over there, I'm going to make it a negative 3. And we're done. It's that simple. When you're taking a complex conjugate, you always switch the sign on the imaginary part. 3 turns into negative 3. Let's take a look at another example. Let's go ahead and find the complex conjugate of this complex number. Now, I have 6 minus 8i, and we all know that the real part always stays the same in these examples. So let me go ahead and write out z bar, and I keep the 6 the same. Now, the imaginary part is negative 8, so when I switch the sign on the imaginary part, it's not a negative anymore. It's a positive 8. So let me go ahead and write that down. And there's the complex conjugate. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. If you like them, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another day.